The Last Flower of Agra. The year was 1627, and the empire of Hindustan shimmered under the might of the Mughal throne. The marble domes of Agra glistened in the early dawn, their reflection dancing on the calm waters of the Yamuna. The market sang with the sounds of merchants calling out prices of silk, jewels, and spices. But behind that splendor, the empire trembled. For power, love, and betrayal were weaving a silent storm. In the shadow of the Red Fort lived a young calligrapher named Arif, whose hands moved like wind over parchment. His art was sought by nobles, and even the emperor's court had admired his verses. But Arif's life was not of luxury. He lived humbly in a small courtyard house near Mina Bazaar, with his old mother and his younger sister Noor. Noor was the light of his life. Beautiful and innocent, she often helped her brother mix inks and prepare scrolls for the patrons. Every morning she would go to the mosque, her white dupatta fluttering in the wind, and offer prayers for her brother's success. Agra knew them as quiet souls, poor but graceful. But fate, however, rarely leaves beauty unnoticed. One evening, as the crimson sun fell over the Yamuna, a grand procession passed through the bazaar. Soldiers in shining armor, drummers beating the rhythm of the imperial march, and in the center rode a young nobleman in silk and gold. His name was Prince Daniel Mirza, the emperor's cousin, known for his charm and betrayal alike. The crowd bowed, except for Noor, who stood frozen, holding a pot of water she had fetched from the river. The prince's eyes caught her instantly. Something unspoken passed between them, a moment that would change the course of many lives.
The next morning, Arif received an imperial summons. Confused and trembling, he presented himself at the prince's mansion. The prince, smiling with the grace of a serpent, praised his art and requested a piece of poetry to decorate his private chamber. Arif, unaware of the trap, accepted with gratitude. For weeks he visited the mansion, working silently as guards and nobles watched. But each time he came, he noticed the prince's gaze linger elsewhere, toward Noor, who sometimes accompanied him to carry his tools. At first, Noor felt only fear. She'd heard stories of the prince's ways, women taken from their homes, hearts broken under silken canopies. Yet when he spoke, his voice carried the weight of fire and sorrow. He told her of his loneliness, his hatred for courtly life, and his wish to find peace beyond gold and war. Noor's heart, young and gentle, began to bend toward compassion, then love. Arif noticed the change. His sister's laughter became quieter, her prayers longer. He warned her, begged her to stay away, but love had already taken root where logic could not reach. One night, Noor confessed she loved the prince and believed he truly loved her. Arif's world shattered. He saw not romance, but ruin. In the months that followed, whispers spread. The prince was often seen riding near the Yamuna at night. A veiled girl was spotted entering the gardens of his palace. The rumors reached the emperor's ears. Court politics, already sharp as daggers, began to stir. A forbidden love between a royal and a commoner was scandal, or worse, treason. When the emperor summoned Prince Daniel, he did not speak with anger, but disappointment. "You were born for the empire," he said, "not for the fleeting madness of the heart. A Mughal's love can burn cities." Daniel bowed his head, but said nothing. That night he rode out again, not as a prince, but as a man desperate to save his love. He came to Arif's door, alone, his sword laid aside. He pleaded, "Let me take her as my wife. I will defy the empire if I must." Arif's fury erupted. "You will destroy her, and us with her. Do you think love is worth 1,000 heads on pikes?" Noor wept, caught between blood and desire. The prince left that night, vowing to return. Weeks passed, and Agra grew tense. Rebellion brewed in the southern provinces, and the emperor prepared for war. Donyan was sent to command the army. Exile disguised as honor. Before he left, he sent Noor a single letter, hidden inside a book of verses. "When I return victorious, I shall make the sun bow to our love." But destiny had sharper plans. War dragged on. Letters stopped coming. Months turned to a year. Noor's eyes faded with waiting, and Arif's heart hardened. He returned to his work, painting verses of sorrow and patience, until one day, soldiers arrived at his door once more. This time, they brought the prince's body. Danyal had fallen in battle. The emperor declared him a martyr of the empire. But to Noor, he was simply gone. Her world ended before it began. That night, she sat by the Yamuna, holding the last letter close to her chest, and whispered his name until dawn. When Arif woke, she was gone.
The city searched for her for days. Some said she drowned herself in the river. Others claimed she vanished into the desert to live as a dervish. Arif, broken, never spoke again. He turned his grief into art, verses so beautiful and sorrowful that even the emperor wept upon reading them. His calligraphy began to decorate tombs and palaces, symbols of love's price in the empire's golden age. Years passed. The empire grew richer, grander, and emptier. A new emperor built a grand mausoleum across the Yamuna for his own lost queen, and the white marble walls caught the sunlight like frozen tears. Arif, now old and frail, was among the artists who worked on it. As he carved the verses of divine love into the marble, he recognized in every curve of the letters the memory of Noor and Danyal, the love that once defied an empire. One evening, after a long day at the site, Arif wandered near the river where his sister had vanished. The moon lay heavy over the water, and the air smelled of jasmine. A figure stood there, cloaked, silent. He thought it was a dream, but when the figure turned, he saw Noor's eyes, older yet untouched by time. She smiled. "I have been waiting," she said softly. "For what?" Arif whispered. "For the world to understand that love is not rebellion, it is remembrance." And as the night deepened, she faded into the mist, leaving behind the faint scent of river water and ink. When Arif died, the emperor himself ordered that he be buried near the Yamuna, close to the monument he helped adorn. On his grave was carved one final verse in Persian. "Empires fall, marble cracks, but love endures beyond the reach of time." Generations later, travelers who came to Agra to see the Taj Mahal would often hear an old story whispered by local poets of a calligrapher, his sister, and the prince who dared to love beyond the throne. They said on moonlit nights when the river is still, a faint melody can be heard. The sound of Noor's anklets and the rustle of Arif's pen writing love back into history. And thus, in the heart of an empire built on conquest, there bloomed a legend, not of kings or wars, but of a love that made marble weep.